Paragraph, chapter 13, section 1, notes packet. The 1500s and the 1600s, European nations established trading posts and colonies in the Americas and the East. A colony, this is pretty easy to understand, is a settlement of people living in a new territory, but they are linked to a parent country with government. All right, so while the colonies were here, who was in charge of them? The government where, though? Back in, who was in charge of us? We were what citizens were we? British, English, right? Yeah, I'll take both of those. Those work. So who was in charge? The king. The king was in charge of us. Fat George, they would call him, right? They hated him. They couldn't stand the king. He was annoying. He was imposing rules on them. Could you imagine if, I told you, look, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, and I was never here for the rest of the year, but every day you had to listen to all of my rules? At some point, you'd be like, why are we listening to his rules? This is getting old. We're tired of this, right? So that's what you see start to happen at some point in the colonies because, again, the colonies are far away from their ruler. They're just kind of listening because, right? It's kind of like when parents go out at night and they leave their kids home alone and they're like, hey, we'll be back in a little bit. You know the rules. Sometimes what happens, people start to break the rules, right? It happens, all right? At least I did when I was growing up. None of you probably. You're all good kids, right? Out there in La La Land, right? Good kids. Gwen, I saw the eye roll. Don't think I didn't see it. I wouldn't. Okay, I see that. All right, so colonies played a role in this theory called mercantilism. Underline it. Mercantilism, which is a set of principles that dominated economic thought in the 17th century. According to this, the prosperity of a nation, underline this is very important, the prosperity of a nation depended on a large supply of bullion, which is gold and silver. All right. To bring in gold and silver, nations tried to have a favorable balance of trade. Underline that. Keep underlining. The balance of trade is the difference in value between what a nation imports, which means brings in, and what they export, which means send out. All right. So in order to have a favorable balance of trade, pay attention to this, you would want to be exporting more goods than what you are importing. All right? So in our world today, in the United States of America today, right? Do we import more or export more? What do you think? Hands down, we import. Very good, right? And some of you out there were lipping it a little bit. We absolutely import more than we export. Most of your phones, the iPad, right? Everything that we have is made where? In another country. A lot of times made in China, right? A lot of times made in Indonesia, made it right, and then we import it. So who's getting a lot of our money? Those countries. Does that make sense? So our money is leaving the country instead of staying in the country. The way that you become powerful and that you have a lot of money within a prosperous country is if you are exporting your goods, right? It was a push that the last president tried to make, that he wanted our goods going out a lot more. We're not sure what's going to happen with the new president. It changes all the time. New presidents come and go, and they have different economic policies. But the policy will always stand that you want to have a favorable balance of trade to be a strong country. And you always, always, always want to export more than you import. Do we understand that? Always. And it has not happened in the United States in a long time. It started to happen over the past few years where we were doing better with it. All right. A lot of our businesses leave our country, go to other countries because it's cheaper to build the products there, right? They pay less to people. They can get the parts cheaper, all of those things. But in the world, you might think like, wow, does the economy really matter? To you and me every day, maybe not. I eat every day. Some people might not, but, I pay my bills pretty regularly. I'm good with that. But as a scale on the whole, your country will struggle and crumble if it does not export goods, right? It is very difficult to live within your own borders, all right, especially in this day and age. Back then, as they were learning this, you saw countries dying to get their products out into the market. They wanted their product being sold in any place they could get it sold, okay? Because that brought other countries' money into their country. All right, so when the balance is favorable, the goods exported are greater value than those imported. To encourage exports, government stimulated export industries and trade. They granted subsidies or payments to new industries and improved the transportation system. We see this happening even today. This is something that we see all the time. Listen to any, new person coming into office or when they're running for office, they will talk about, we're going to fix the infrastructure of the United States. We're going to fix the roads. We're going to fix the railways. We're going to fix, that's all means of transportation. It's all means of moving things from here to there, right? If we can ship things, if we can get things places quicker, we're good, all right? Why? Over the past year, what companies made money? Did a lot of companies make money over the past year or just a couple? Just a couple. Who were they? Anybody know out there? Amazon, definitely. I just heard Amazon. Amazon quadrupled its money over the past year. Why? Because it can do what easily? Ship products, right? I ordered something last night. It's on my doorstep by 10 a.m. this morning. It is amazing. It's scary. It's so quick. When I was growing up, you would wait weeks to get something. You say, I ordered it. I don't know when it's coming. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I ordered. I forgot I ordered it so long ago, right? But now I can order something in another country and it can be at my doorstep a day or two, all right? And that's what countries want to do. They want to be able to get their products quickly to places. And so they will offer ways of fixing that and making it better, all right? They try to keep foreign goods out of their own country by placing high taxes on these goods. That's important. Underline that. Colonies were important because they were sources of raw materials and were markets for finished goods. So let me just touch on this concept of high taxes. What would make me not buy a product from another country and buy a product from this country? All right? All things being... Go ahead.
If it's in a different country, the taxes might be really lower for shipping costs.
Right. It might cost me more to buy a product from another country, right? It might, right? If you shop good enough or well, you might be able to find something. But let's say I have two pairs of jeans. Which one are you going to buy? They both look the same. They're both of the same quality, right? One says American made, one says made in Indonesia. I'm just picking a country. It doesn't matter. But the Indonesia jeans, again, they both look exactly the same, both feel exactly the same. But because it comes from Indonesia, the government decides it's going to put a little bit higher tax on it. Which pair are you going to buy? The cheaper one. You're going to buy the ones made in America. Not because they're necessarily made in America, but why? Because they're cheaper. They're still of good quality, but they're less expensive on my wallet. That's where I kind of care. And so that's what governments were doing. Oh, well, if you're going to buy that product, it's going to cost you more. Well, obviously, most human beings are going to go, well, I'll buy that product then. I'll buy the product that I can afford at a lesser price, and it's fairly similar, right? When you're buying phones, when you're buying cars, those are things that if they're coming from other countries, you might see that. You might see tariffs or higher taxes placed on those things. You might not look at it as a higher tax, but it might be just a more expensive car over time because of it needing to be shipped here, it needing to, be processed differently, all of those things. So that's how the government would almost force, right? They're not forcing you to buy it, but, they're kind of directing your path of what to buy. If I can get this phone for this cost, I get this phone for this, and they're both similar, they both kind of do the same things, I'll buy the one that's cheaper. That's just me. Now, some people will pay whatever they want for whatever because it has a name on it, right? I'm that way with like Nike products or Jordan products. I like Nike. That's what I buy. So my friend texted me the other day. He's like, dude, this pair of Under Armour sneakers. He knows I like sneakers. He's like, you got to try these. They're so comfortable. And I was like, not going to happen. And he laughed at me. My wife laughs at me too. She thinks she calls me a label whore because I only wear like Nike stuff. When I wear my athletics and my sneakers are all Nike basic. And I was like, not going to happen. He's like, why? They're so comfortable. I'm like, well, they're not Nike. He's like, yeah, but this same pair of Nike is $130. I got these for $80. I said, I don't care. I like Nike. So it doesn't matter what they're going to charge me. I'll pay it. But they think, and it does work most of the time, apples to apples, you will buy the one that's cheaper. All right. So that's how governments kind of work with making you buy the product that they would like you to buy. But again, some people just pay what they're going to pay and eat the cost. I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. So that's the end of the notes. I'm going to stop this real quick.